Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Food Enthusiast. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm Dara Bunjon. I'm the Food Enthusiast. I'm a food writer, food stylist, publicist, and frustrated baker. Today's guest is one of the three founding members of Baltimore's Mobtown Fermentation, producers of Wild Kombucha and Icaro Yerba Maté. Let's welcome Sergio Malarin.
Hey,
There he is.
how you
We were
doing?
chatting. We're doing great. We were chatting before the show, and I learned so much more. Let's talk about, when did Mobtown Fermentation start? How did it start? You have two other partners, Sid Sharma, Adam Bufano. Tell me about the beginning and how this evolved.
So Adam is actually my stepbrother. So we met long, long ago when we were kids and very quickly became brothers. Sid is like a brother to me. Me and him met in high school, freshman year, playing soccer. We both went to McDonough in Owings Mills. Um, and we learned, so Adam and I initially learned about kombucha through our parents. We grew up in the Park Heights area, kind of very near Pikesville. And our parents, my mom was very good friends with Sally Fallon, who is a bit of a local celebrity in the health community. And she was the one who really taught us about fermented foods and the tremendous benefits that come with consuming and making them. And so, yeah, it was really us carrying on this wonderful tradition passed down to us by our parents. Adam was the one who really, our parents left him all the bottling equipment, and he really took it upon himself to better the recipe and perfect it. And after a couple of years, I came back from college, was living with him briefly in between houses, and tasted the brew he was making, and just couldn't believe how when our parents made it once out of every 6, 7 times, it was delicious, and the rest were kind of a little sour, a little dry. And so Adam had really through a very methodical process perfected this recipe. And at the time, I was working for a local company called Thompson Creek, and I was able to get a lot of experience in sales and marketing through that. And so, yeah, me and him teamed up together, started the company. Very quickly realized we needed a level of business understanding and math understanding that we did not have. And so I reached out to Sid, who I was still in contact with. We remained very, very good friends despite him going to college in Ohio at Case Western and me staying here locally at University of Maryland. And so Sid, he was at Duke University at that time doing a master's in environmental science and entrepreneurship. And so he had a very high understanding and level of, financial projections and that type of stuff. And not just that, but he's a very witty, funny person. If you've looked under the caps, you'll probably, you'll notice that we have some puns under there. That's all Sid.
I was going to ask you about that. Here, I'm prepared. What can I say? So this one says, are you a herbivore? And that has to do with your yerba mate.
Yeah.
So you sort of answered a lot of my questions as the connections with the three of you. When did you go? You had like a little juice bar. When did you start producing the kombucha? Kombucha.
Kombucha, yeah. It's in 2015. So our first sale was in February of 2015. And that was in that little, we subleased the side of a juice bar. So it was in this like little tiny space. I mean, maybe 10 by 20 feet. And we started, we even through 2017 when we were working with Whole Foods and Moms and some of these bigger clients in Harris Teeter, we were bottling everything by hand. And so that all started in this smaller space. And yeah, the health department was actually really, really helpful. They walked us through a lot of stuff because none of us were none of us had done food production, especially at that
Right.
size. So the local food department from the state was super helpful in that sense and just walking us through. I'm sure we bugged them a lot with tons of questions, but they were super helpful. And once we kind of maxed out that space, we moved out to excuse me, we moved out to Timonium. We had a slightly bigger, like 4,000 square foot brewery up there. And that's really when we were able to expand. That's, we signed with Whole Foods before we were in that space. And
Wow.
basically, yeah, it was a series of a lot of kind of towing the tightrope a little bit, so to speak, where, we had to get out of that space, we needed a cash injection, and that came in the form of a business competition that we won. We actually won $45,000 there. It was a business competition through Shore Hatchery, through the Salisbury Business School.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. A wonderful foundation actually locally called the Radcliffe Foundation. It's Carol Radcliffe runs it. She's out of the Eastern Shore. Just amazing person, but she sponsored this whole competition. And so yeah, we owe a ton to that as well. And that's what allowed us to make that jump into the next space and to start serving Whole Foods and yeah, to take that next step. And then finally, oh, go ahead.
No, no, that's fine. The Wild Kombucha is in what? You're in 9 states. Is it
I
nine
believe
states?
so. Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Kentucky. I want to say it's eight. It might be nine. I think it's
Yeah.
eight.
There's a little give here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to take us to task. So that's fabulous. And, I went on to your website. There's two websites, folks. One is Mobtown Fermentation, which you'll learn more about the wild kombucha. And then there's also Icaro Tea, ICARO.com for the yerba mate. Um, so you have the new plant, and I saw that you're down off of Northern Parkway. So you're back in the hood.
Yes, yeah, right where we grew up. So it's been amazing. We moved last year. We're very lucky that all this, all the COVID stuff happened this year because we were able to sign on with a bunch of grocery stores, and that was what was able to, keep us afloat during
Sustain.
this time. Yeah. So, but we moved into this big facility. It's just under 14,000 square feet. It's right off of Northern Parkway, right before you hit Liberty Road or Liberty Heights. So yeah, come visit. We have a little tap room. Well, obviously when things clear up a little bit. But yeah, we typically have a tap room, and we encourage people to come visit us as well here. Our address is 4820 Seton Drive, Suite L.
Okay, everybody, did you get that? If not, you will find it on their website, Mobtown Fermentation or Acaro Tea. Am I a good promotion person here? Pushing it.
Yeah, this is
Um,
great. Thank you.
um, well, one of the things when Sergio told me that he and Adam had grown up in Lower Park Heights, I said, "Are you Jewish?" And he says, "No, but you're what do you say, the Shabbos Goy?"
Yeah, the Shabbos Goy.
Goy. And to people, Goy means non-Jewish, and Shabbos being Sabbath. Why don't you fill people in who might not be Jewish, who might be interested in this title, and what you did?
So I grew up in Park Heights, right near Pikesville, which is an Orthodox Jewish community. And while we're not Jewish, we had a friend from our school who also was not Jewish and had the house and sold it to my parents. And we very quickly, we are embraced in the community. And my parents, let me explain before I get into that. I'll explain what a Shabbos going on. So we were, I think, the only non-Jewish family for like maybe like a 6-7 block radius in any direction. And so Orthodox Jewish people on Shabbos, so from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday, they can't do any kind of work. They can't use electricity. They can't turn the oven off or lights on or anything like that. And so on Saturday mornings, we would get a knock on the door from our neighbors who, if they'd forgotten to turn off the oven or a light, or maybe it was a cold day and they left the AC on, anything like that. So the Shabbos Goy were the non-Jewish people who could help out on the Shabbos.
Well, one of the things you explained to me, I mean, obviously I come from a very Reformed Jewish family. I didn't know all this, was that they can't ask you directly to do this.
Yes. Yep.
So if they wanted the lights turned off, how would they phrase it for you?
So yeah, they're knocking on the door and like, "Hi, good morning. I'm sorry to bother you, but it's the Shabbos and I forgot to turn my lights on, my lights off." And so then I would have to volunteer and say, "Oh, no worries. I'm happy to come with you and help you out. Just let me know what I can do to help out." And in that sense, it wasn't a question. It was me volunteering the action.
Right, okay. I'm going to come back. I diverted you because I thought that was interesting. Let's talk about kombucha. What is kombucha? What are the benefits of kombucha? And maybe you can explain to people what a SCOBY is.
Yeah,
I've done,
absolutely.
I've done some research.
So, yeah, kombucha is a fermented probiotic drink made from the fermentation of tea. We use green tea and some kind of sweetener. We use raw organic cane sugar. And the SCOBY is the culture, kind of like a sourdough, started like a sourdough culture. It's the culture that you put in there that then digests that sugar and tea and turns it into this fizzy, healthy drink called kombucha. So SCOBY is actually an acronym. It stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast. And basically, what this SCOBY is, it's also known as a mother culture or a mother. The SCOBY is a bunch of different strains of yeast, kind of like you use in the making of beer or bread, and a bunch of probiotic bacteria and enzymes like you would find in yogurt. You know, the only one I think I can pronounce is the aso. Can't even pronounce it. The acidobacillus. That's like
Okay,
it's like the one you find the probiotic enzyme you find in yogurt.
right, right.
Um, and so when this culture eats this tea and sugar, or tea and honey, we just use sugar to make it vegan. It turns it into, it basically multiplies these enzymes, and so when you drink this drink, it's one of the few drinks that has like positive enzyme, I guess net positive enzyme consumption. I think that's the wrong word, but so basically, what it does is we all have enzymes in our digestive system that help us break down food and absorb the nutrients. And basically, what happens when we eat white flour and white sugar and really processed foods, like all of us do nowadays, all of that is net negative. All of that takes away your gut flora. It kills off of those enzymes. It uses them up to digest that very difficult, that food that's very difficult for us to digest. And so kombucha is almost this ancient solution to a modern problem, in the sense that it provides a natural way, and not just kombucha but kimchi, kefir, any fermented product that has these probiotic enzymes is one of the few foods that counteract that, and that replace those good digestive enzymes and naturally allow your body to kind of build up that good gut flora again, so that our digestive systems work the way they're supposed to. A lot of antacids like Tums, all that, they're massive companies now because so many people have digestive issues because of the diet that, especially here in the U.S., that we eat.
Right. So I have a quick question, a little off track, but is there a significance in the rabbit on your logo?
So yes, well, there's a little story behind it. It was kind of random, to be honest, at first. The significance, so rabbits, so our product is vegan. It's cause driven. We donate 1% to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation for not just for animal habitat conservation, but for the oyster restoration project. Our team has gone down and planted trees in the wetlands before to keep the banks from eroding. So we're very, very active in that partnership. And for us, the rabbit is kind of a universal symbol of, it's like the symbol for veganism. It's a symbol for, like non-animal cruelty. If you see on shampoo, it's got like the little rabbit for non-animal testing. So the rabbit is kind of this a bit of a universal symbol for helping animals and for veganism. And so we had this graphic designer who was German, and we asked him to make us like a design and a logo, and he misunderstood us. It got lost in translation. He thought we wanted like a mascot, like a college style mascot. And so he sent us a bunch of images back, one being this like leopard print bunny, and one was like a merman. It got weird. But one was this bunny, and we really liked it, and we thought it was just like outrageous, but also funny and cool and hip, but also conveyed the message and our partnership. It's definitely a little bit out there, but we really, so are we. We're kind of,
Well,
we're kind of unique people as well.
well, that's conveyed. And wild. I would say the word for you guys is wild. Wild kombucha, and even on your yerba mate, it's wild. I don't
Yeah.
know if you saw on my instant story on my Instagram, I added Wild Thing as the background music.
Oh, no, I had it muted. That's
No,
awesome.
so I always try to find a song that I think that's appropriate. And the wild kombucha has multiple flavors, and we're just going to scan this very quickly, both with the yerba mate and the wild kombucha. Uh, that new flavors are coming out, but it's been embargoed, so we can't talk about it yet, but watch for it. We have new flavors.
Yeah, they'll be
And
coming out in September. So, yeah,
great.
definitely keep an eye out for both.
All right, so for just tuning in, we're here with Sergio Malarin. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah,
Oh,
in Spanish it's Malarin, but in English it's Malarin.
okay, thank you. One of the three founders of Mobtown Fermentation. Their phone number, I'm going to give it to you, and you give you the website is 410-252-2850. And Mobtown Fermentation or Icaro Tea, both are the websites.com. And we're going to move on to yerba mate. We were talking about this before. Your family's from Peru, am I correct?
Correct.
And it was a trip to Peru or multiple trips. You said, we're already working with black tea for the kombucha. What can we do with that? And the tea that makes up yerba mate. Tell me a bit how that got the inspiration on that.
So yeah, so my parents are both from Peru, but my mom and my stepdad, with my two half sisters, they all went down to Peru and Argentina and lived there for a combined like 7 years, and just came back about 5, 6 years ago. But my little sisters grew up in the high jungle in Peru, and in the like high Sierra in Argentina, near a city called Cordoba, and that's really just going down there to visit them and seeing in the park these like circles of like teenagers passing around this gourd of yerba mate. Of course, you're curious, and we tried it. And in Peru, it's they drink it up in the mountains as a antioxidant and also as a cure for altitude sickness. So I was already somewhat
Oh,
familiar with it. In Peru, they actually drink mate de coca, which is like the coca leaf. Obviously, before it's processed, it's just like a normal. It's like saying black tea. It's got a little bit of caffeine, but it's got a very similar taste to the yerba mate. And so that is also been. It's very rooted to a lot of like culture, especially in Argentina and Peru. A lot of the folks, especially in the mountains, have been drinking it for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and use it as a way to be able to continue, like the Inca roads and these huge communication networks that were all done by foot. A lot of that was kind of fueled by these medicinal plants. Well, not medicinal plants, but these amazing plants with amazing qualities.
um, it was Guarani. Guarani is the tribe that founded
Hmm.
it, and I looked up. what was the leaf called, because it really isn't, they call it that. It's Ilex paragararinus, something like that. But it looks like it was named after the tribe.
Hmm.
Um, and we were talking earlier, you or the three of you have taken it and bottled it and come up with your own impression of yerba mate. And this is more
Yes,
carbonated. Tell me a little bit more about that.
absolutely. So it actually, when because Adam, my brother, does all of the research and development for the flavors. And so me and him, when he was doing that, we were the three of us, the three founders were chatting about it. And when we were trying to brainstorm a name, a big part of that was trying to highlight, not only something locally here that ties us to this product, apart from my family's heritage, but also a way to give kind of tribute to the culture. And so we came up with the name Icaro. Icaro in Quechua, which is the language of the Incas, which is the indigenous Peruvian, at least, when the Spanish came to Peru, um, it was the empire that was there and established. And in Quechua, Icaro means sacred song. And the reason we picked that is because we have a partnership where we donate 1% of all sales, just like with kombucha, where we donate 1% of all sales to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. For Icaro, we donate 1% to Living Classrooms Baltimore for arts and music education. So it really ties together, our mission in making, our community a better place, but also gives a bit of a testament and ode to the culture and that this came from. So yerba mate is it's high in antioxidants. It's got a nice bit of caffeine. Our hibiscus
Right.
has 53 milligrams of caffeine. A cup of coffee is typically about 90. The nice thing about this, though, is there's no word in English for it, but in Spanish, there's a word to differentiate between the caffeine from tea and the caffeine from coffee, because they're actually two different molecules. In Spanish, we have caffeina, and then we have teina as well. So it's
Sorry,
a
I
bit.
lost my earbud.
Oh, no worries. So it's a bit smoother. It doesn't give you the same kind of jitteriness that coffee can sometimes give you. Um, it's very, very low calorie, low sugar, and everything is organic. Like I said, we just got the USDA organic certification for the entire facility. And then the same thing, it'll be kosher as soon as the facility is kosher as well.
That's fabulous. We're talking, I remember years ago before you fellas came out with this, having an interest in yerba mate. I am a tea drinker. I don't do coffee. And I was fascinated by the process and the socialization that came with yerba mate, that it started off in gourds and how specifically they put the leaf of the tea in there, and it was done on an angle. And you would shake it, and then so to get the bigger leaves to the bottom, and then the finer leaves to the top, and it would be on an angle in a gourd. And they put a little bit of cold water to sort of set the leaves, and then the hot water to steep it, and then use the bombilla.
Mm-hmm.
Here goes the ear thing again. And that has its own little screen in it to keep the tea coming up. But the tradition was passing it, to do three sips and pass it, and it was a social thing. And we were joking before, it was like passing a doobie. I mean, here you go, a couple totes, and this is yours. Um, but there was a great fascination, and I think I had tried it maybe at the fancy food show, and I found it was really strong.
Yeah.
And but no, this is nice. This I keep turning the label, and this is the regular, and it has a lot of fizz when I opened it. Woo! So a lot of
So
carbonation to it.
a big difference between us and like the leading brands in the market right now for yerba mate is that we actually, we make the tea in a kettle. It's real tea, and while there are other brands on the market that have, that are organic and that make a great product, what really sets us apart is that we don't use tea extracts, which every single other yerba mate I've seen on the market so far is made with organic tea extracts, whereas ours is actually like organic tea that we brew in a kettle and put right in the bottle. We chill it, we carbonate it a little bit, and then put right in the bottle. So it gives it a less tanniny taste. It's a little less heavy. It gives it more. You get more of the aroma and the flavor in the body of the tea, without kind of that heavy aftertaste that can come from yerba mate.
Right. And just to let people know, makes great cocktails. That's actually how I met the fellas at Alma Cacino. They did a launch and they had two fabulous cocktails, one with the regular and one with the hibiscus. And so be creative, go with it. I have another question for you. And that's I look off because they come in. All your
Yeah.
products are part of what I would call next generation beverages. Do you find that your patrons are Gen X or younger, or do you cater to a broad audience?
So we haven't done a ton of like demographic studies, but what we did see when we did, I would say the best study that we've been able to see in terms of the people who the demographic of people who are drinking our products, is when we did. Oh, of course, I'm blanking on this. It's the app Groupon. We did a Groupon sale a couple times, and they show you exactly who's buying the product, and from a couple hundred, a series of a couple hundred people, we noticed that it was slightly older. Actually, it was like, I would say, and it was heavily leaning towards women as well. It was about 70% female, usually from about
Interesting.
25 to about 55. Because it's a right now it's a premium product. It's a specialty product in a sense, and so it's typically people with disposable income. But I mean, that is hearing someone say that we are the next generation of beverages is amazing, because that's exactly what we're building towards. We're trying to, so we actually just started self distributing, and so what we're trying to do now is kind of build a portfolio of other companies that are, we're trying to have a whole line of products that is all cause driven. So yeah, any local companies that are cause driven, that are beverage companies that are cause driven, in the Mid Atlantic or East Coast, please reach out. We are definitely trying to build that portfolio and start distributing within the Mid Atlantic, and have, almost like a Coca Cola model where you fill the entire fridge. That's the end goal with our company, is to be able to do that and fill the entire fridge and have every product in there be cause driven. And so that way, no matter what product you pick when you go to a store, restaurant, bar, whatever it is, no matter what drink you're grabbing, you're supporting some cause locally.
And that's great. That's great. Um, we're going to go to my typical questions, and you know they're coming. What is your most epic culinary fail? Now, nobody said you're a chef, you're into beverages, but I throw it out because I always find it interesting.
I would have to say it was when we were at the Timonium space, so our second space that we moved into, and so we were using these like kind of medium sized tanks, but they were still, it's still a ton of liquid. And I would say my biggest culinary failure was trying to get one of those tanks, like trying to unjam a SCOBY out of the spigot of one of those tanks, and having the whole thing come crashing down on me. And maybe I think it was like 100 gallons, or like 100 gallons of sugar and, like, sweetened tea that hadn't been consumed. It was just like fresh. I just brewed it and put it in there. A whole thing came crashing down, and I was like soaked from head to toe in sugary tea and scobies.
Well, I've looked at what scobies look like. So, but that's interesting. They're like, it's sort of like it's yeast. People think about yeast and things rising and what it looks like. All right, so you answered that question. And before I forget about it, I want to get back to and tell people again for more information. Oh, before I forget about it, you are selling, you are delivering to home by direct.
Yes, yeah.
Is it 12 bottles?
Yeah,
Assorted
so
bottles between the kombucha and the yerba mate.
yep. So we're
Okay.
doing $40 a case delivered to your house if you're within the Baltimore area. And yeah, we mix it up and we always throw some, some stickers and an extra bottle of the yerba mate of the Icaro so folks can try it out. So yeah, if you are in the area and you want a home delivery, give us, go online to our website and place an order and we'll be there within 3 days.
Okay. That's 410-252-2850 is the phone number, Mobtown Fermentation and Icaro Tea, both at .com. If you're looking up the website. And the final question is, what question didn't I ask you that I should have?
I'm not sure if we mentioned the kosher thing yet. That we're going to be kosher by the end of 2020. We just got USD organic certified. So now we can you kind of shift focus. We tried to get kosher certified a while back and had a bit of an issue with the elderberry juice. The company that sent us elderberry juice just did not want to have anybody come into their facility like to review it. So we switched sourcing. Took a while, but it's pretty important to us considering we grew up in the Pikesville Park Heights community. So it's especially to me and Adam, it's very important. It's very important to have that. We have a lot of local businesses that we know, and the only hurdle right now is just being kosher certified, and we'll be able to be sold in all those businesses.
Just real quick, did I notice that elderberry kombucha is your number one seller, or it's one of the top
Yes,
sellers?
yeah, it's the top seller. Very closely followed by our ginger grapefruit.
Okay,
Those
well,
two are
that's
the
great.
top. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Sergio. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I did.
Uh,
Thank you.
And everyone, if you haven't tried it, go out. I know I'm going to be up for a while when I finish this. They're fabulous. Thank you so much. Say hi to the boys
I absolutely
for
will.
me.
Thank you, Dara.
All right, thank you. And I have a couple of notes to finish up with. Chef Cyrus Kiefer reached out to me this week to say that he and Chef Adam will be taking over the Red Star operations come July 28th. It's a pop up outside under the name of Hungry Like the Wolf, serving American Tavern classics. So if you're a fan of Red Star down in Fells Point, look for this coming. That'll be Hungry Like the Wolf, but this wolf has an E on the end of it. Next week's show, author and caterer Carol Durst Wertheim has a new book, Vignettes and Vinaigrettes, a memoir of catering before food was hot. It's really quite interesting, and all the stories of how she came to catering and different parties in the 80s in New York City. So it's quite entertaining. And so join us next week for that. I always appreciate you coming in and tuning into the show and sharing it with your friends and helping it grow. The show is always permanently up on the JMore Living Facebook page and the jmoreliving.com and YouTube. If you'd like to reach me, have ideas, or have questions, you can contact me at food@jmoreliving.com. I want to wish you all a really good week. We'll see you next Thursday. And as always, may your plates remain full. Thank you for tuning in.